Today I want to talk about a 15-year-old camera that you might actually want, and that is the Sony RX100 Mark I. It's the original RX100. Hear me out. This might just be the minimalist photographer's dream camera. There's obviously going to be a lot of drawbacks on a camera that's this old, but if you look at the marketplace for them, you can find them for pretty cheap. I got mine for really cheap, but I would still probably have picked it up if I was one of those people who was right for, which I kind of am. But if I was one of those people that it was right for, I would probably still pick one up for between $200 and $300. If I was going to go much more than that, I'd probably go for one of the newer RX100s to get a similar experience. But let's talk about this one. We'll talk about the positives, some of the negatives, and then in the end, we'll go ahead and touch on who I think this camera is actually probably perfect for and who maybe should just stray away from it. So let's go ahead and get into the positives. First things first, this is a point and shoot camera from 2012 that has a 1-inch sensor in it. So this point and shoot camera has the abilities to get some actual depth of field in your shot, some decent low light. Beyond the 1-inch sensor, what kind of pairs with that, my second feature that I think is just super key on this camera is that it has a 1.8 aperture, which is really fast for a point and shoot camera. And then what makes it even better is that it is a 1-inch sensor, which is a large sensor for a point and shoot camera. I think one of the largest that they've ever put in a point and shoot camera. Lets you get these shallow depth of field shots like this. Also has a pretty close focus. So you can do shallow depth of field, you can do macro photography, you can do portrait photography with this, getting some blurry backgrounds, street photography, landscape photography, which is what I've been mostly doing for the last week because it's cold and I've been driving around the countryside and stuff, but I haven't wanted to spend a lot of time outside in our downtown to get some street photography samples out of it. I haven't really got the chance to play with it with the portrait stuff, but I know from taking some selfies with it, which that was a little difficult due to one of the drawbacks, but taking some selfies with it, I noticed that like you do get some of that blur in your background and you can add some depth of field to your shots in a little point and shoot, which I think is just really good for somebody starting off. Beyond the fast aperture, it does have a 24mm base, which is like the most wide that it gets, and then a 100mm maximum zoom. Now it does have a clear image zoom that goes beyond that, and the clear image zoom looks pretty good. You can also then add a digital zoom. I wouldn't recommend that though. It doesn't look great after the digital zoom, but on the clear image zoom, from my experience, when you're looking at it before you take the shot, it looks digital, but as soon as the shot's taken, the shot itself looks like a crisp optical zoom. It's nice to be able to have that to play with. And I personally rarely go beyond the 100 since I've been playing with it for the last week. It also lets you do macro photography. So it gets pretty close. It's not extremely close like you would get from like a specific macro lens. You can always crop and post to make it look like you got a real nice macro shot because it is like a 20.2 megapixel camera. So you're able to play with a little bit of cropping and post and still get a really quality photo, especially for like Instagram and stuff like that. Another good feature is that it does have a built-in flash. Now the flash is a little odd. It pops up on its own. There's not like a switch or anything to be able to kick it up. Like some of the newer models, I think has the switch for the flash so that you can like flip the switch. I do have like a Sony HX80, which is a different Sony point and shoot that has that where you can like flip the flash up. That's kind of nice to be able to do. But on this guy, you would just half click your button in once you have the flash turned on so that it knows it's either on auto flash or flash turned on, half push and it kicks it up. Then it'll stay up for the duration. Now you can bounce flash it. So you could use a bounce and bend it back and bounce it. It's kind of nice that it has that ability. If you're going to shop for one on the used market, definitely make sure these features work. So make sure your flash works and make sure it pops up when you need it to. So knowing how to do that when you go to shop for one is pretty key. You know, obviously check out the things like make sure there's not damage on the screen that it hinders you being able to take good photos. Now, if it has just like a little dead spot, but the photos are turning out okay, I wouldn't worry about it, but do use that as a negotiation tactic. The next good feature that's key that it has, which some cameras don't, is the ability to shoot RAW. Being able to shoot RAW is awesome for anybody beginning photography or anybody that's super into photography already. Editing the RAW photos, you're gonna be able to push them a lot more than editing your JPEGs. 90% of the time though, I do just edit the JPEGs. You're doing it for social media most of the time, but if you're gonna do some prints and stuff like that, and you're going to be blowing them up, probably play with the raw photos and try to learn how to edit with raw. The other feature that I think is so cool on this that most other point and shoots, minus like this Canon's GX7 or whatever theirs is, I think it's the GX7. I should look that up. But this has like a ring on it, and most of the time this ring controls aperture, but this ring is super great for giving you that feel of using a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, because it's similar to the rings on those cameras and it operates similar to them, and it has a nice feel to it. Like, it actually has some like give back where it feels really good. For the experienced people, it give you that feel like you have the control that you want from a camera. And for people that are beginners using this camera, it will give you that experience of utilizing the rings on your lens instead of just relying on all the knobs and buttons on and the touch screen and doing that stuff. So having that's just so cool. And it like most, like even this HX80, which if you guys want to learn about this HX80, let me know in the comments. It has a 720 millimeter zoom, which is why I picked this up on the marketplace also. And that's an optical zoom. So if you want to hear about an HX80, they're pretty budget on the marketplace, but they don't have a 1-inch sensor. Let me know in the comments. But yes, so this ring is just so cool. Like I love that it's there. Before we get into the negatives, let's talk about maybe some accessories that you might want or need if you go and pick one of these up. So if you're somebody who edits and shares your photos on your phone, you're going to want a way to bring the photos and videos from here to your smartphone. And what I've been using for it is one of these. So you can pick them up on Amazon, and I will put some link down below, but it lets you put the SD card in here. And then if you have the USB-C in your phone, it reads like an external hard drive. So you go ahead and just put it in, and then you can start transferring files over to your phone. And I think it's key, especially if you're going to be sharing them on social anyways. Why put them through your laptop or desktop and then have to send them to your phone and stuff like that? Just go straight to your phone with one of these. Another thing they do make for this, and I know they make it for this, which I just bought mine a week ago, so I haven't ordered it again, but I ordered it and then sent it back. But they make an adhesive ring. It gives you the ability to put on ND filters and what other filter you want. I believe it sticks right here and then here where the adhesives go on that little piece that goes across. And I'll definitely link it down below so you can go ahead and get one if you're gonna get it. But I think that opens up a world of possibilities, because without that, you can't do like long exposure photography. And if you're doing video and you want it to have the cinematic motion blur, you're not gonna be able to get your shutter speed to the right amount for you to have that fast aperture and the motion blur that you want. Get into that in a minute about video. Definitely want something like a flexible tripod or a tripod in general. It has the screw for it. You might want to play with some shooting with the tripod. I'll link my favorite flexible tripod down below. I'm currently using it. It is an Ulanzi MT33, I think. It's an Ulanzi tripod. I'll link it up. They're super budget friendly and they're versatile. You can use them with your phone or this without adding anything extra. You just grab the tripod and it has the built-in phone mount and the mount this, and that tripod goes everywhere with me. It has a fixed screen and no EVF. So those are two negatives. The negatives is that it has a fixed screen, so you can't tilt it to be able to hold it down low and get a shot like that. And then it has no EVF, so you can't pop up an EVF like this guy. The HX80 has a built-in EVF and an articulating screen. Let me know again if you want to hear anything about that one. But it doesn't have that. The newer models of this does. If these are things you might want, you might look at newer models and see what you can find. No articulating screen. I wish they maybe made some kind of a hood for it. Another negative, they don't have a hot shoe on it. If they had a hot shoe, I would say you get one of those mirrors that go on the hot shoe so that you could do like vlogging and selfies like that. But vlogging also doesn't really make sense with this anyways. Don't buy this for a vlogging camera. Definitely don't. Beyond the fact that you can't see yourself in it. No microphone jack. I'm sure the mics on it are whatever. I haven't really played with them. I do think this is like strictly for photography. Another thing, the aperture is variable. So yes, it's a 1.8, but as soon as you start zooming, it starts going up. That's another thing. When you're zooming, it doesn't tell you millimeters. It says how many times zoomed you are based off of 24 millimeters. So you have to do those calculations in your head. I haven't found a spot on the menu to change that. I meant to look for it again. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to change it. So on your zoom, you are only going to see the times, like how many times beyond 24 millimeters that it is. So you don't really know where you are. I can tell you that 3.6 times is that 100, because that's where the max is before it goes over into the clear image zoom. Beyond that, you are guessing what millimeters you're at. But as soon as you start going up, so does your f-stop. That being said, most zoom lenses are going to be variable. And if they're not, they're going to be like an f4 anyways. There's few that are expensive that stick at like an f2 point something and let you zoom pretty good, but not many. So that's a negative, but like a negative I can live with if I'm not doing video. If you're doing video and your zoom does that, it kind of sucks because it messes with your exposure. But if you're doing photo, you can just adjust your exposure as you're zooming in. So not a deal breaker, but it is something to be aware of. The menu's a little clunky. It's Sony's old menu. I even had a 6400 that had the old menu, and I think this one's slightly even different than that one. I don't know, but I'm not going to go through the whole menu for you. If you need to know that stuff, do leave comments. I can go through like how I set mine up, the functions and the menu and all that stuff. I more wanted to just tell about my experience and what I thought was good and what I thought was bad about it. And one more last bad thing, which I did kind of mention already, this is not for video. So it can only really, at 1080, record 60p and 60i. If you go over to MP4 format though, it gives you like, I believe it's 24 frames per second, but it's not, it's like a different, oh, I think it's a 4:3 format because it's 1440 by 1080. Is that 4:3? But yeah. So definitely, if you are shooting video with it, which I don't even recommend, AVC HD at 60p is your option. It looks okay. It looks fine. But like I said, don't get this for video. Like, it's not a video camera. The screen's plenty bright for me. I was shooting in a pretty bright day the other day with it in sunny mode. So it's bright enough, but you're holding it in front of your face. You're not getting low and able to see what your framing is at all. So I guess we'll go ahead and conclude this with, I think it's a really fun camera. I think if you can get it for the right price, which I did, it's good for somebody who, like I said in the beginning, is like a minimalist photographer, wants it to be able to just fit in their pocket, have almost all the options you would of other photography cameras. It's great for somebody who's a beginner, 100%. Like I said, having the ring to play with, to give you that feel of having a camera that you have lenses, but a lot of beginners don't want to play with, like mess with switching out lenses and stuff like that, but still want to learn photography. I think this ring gives you that option, and the aperture adjustment and having such a fast aperture that lets you take good portraits, close-up stuff, street photography, landscape, even gives you a little bit of a zoom so you can play with the different compression and the different zooms. There's so much you can learn with just having those different things on a camera. Also, someone who wants to be like a stealth street photographer, a lot of times when you're doing street photography, you don't want people staring at you. And when you got big old hunking lens on your camera, or you're pulling out a DSLR from your pocket or have one hanging on you, people are looking at you. So if you just don't want people staring at you, but you want to be able to go ahead and take some street photography, I think something like this is great. I hope that covered a lot on the Sony RX100 Mark 1. In 2026, I think it's still a pretty good little camera, but you got to get it for that right price. So if you enjoyed this video and if you got some information out of it that maybe helped you out, do hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. Let me know if you want a menu video and like settings, and let me know if you want to see the HX80, which I think is just a really awesome little camera. Also, I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna go shoot more with this and see what else I can do with it. Go shoot whatever camera you have, because the best camera is the one in your pocket. And don't forget to post your work and be proud of what you do. I'm gonna go try to find a newer version of this to play with next, and peace out. All right, later guys.